Some Gauteng government departments, we're told, owe billions of rand to municipalities in the province. The DA says some municipalities are failing to deliver basic services due to the money that's owed to them. The party says it will now engage the Gauteng Cooperative Governance MEC, Lebogang Maile, to try and intervene. For more on what they've found, let's bring in the DA's Gauteng member of the legislature, Solly Msimanga, who joins us via our video link this morning. It's lovely to have you on the program, Solly. Thanks as always for making time. And when you look at these figures, it's no small change, right? It's money owed up to about 450 million rand almost. What impact have you been able to ascertain this is having on municipalities?
Well, thank you very much, Ayanda. Good morning to the viewers at home. It has a very, very big impact. Service delivery is actually being disrupted here. The fact that you have municipalities that are not able to meet its basic requirement of delivering services. If you go to municipalities like Mfuleni, if you go to Merafong, you know that there's municipalities that the Auditor General has almost or have declared as dysfunctional municipalities due to their financial standing. You would know that Mfuleni, as an example, had actually a couple of months ago had their own bank accounts being attached and had some of these assets being attached or even taken away from the municipality due to the lack of the municipality's ability to pay debtors. You would know that Eskom is owed hundreds of millions by Gauteng municipalities. Now, these departments are actually now contributing to the municipalities' failures to be able to then provide services to you and me as residents.
Yeah, these figures were revealed in a written response to the DA by Lebogang Maile in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Any details on how this debt was allowed to skyrocket over the years?
Well, Ayanda, you know, it's a catch-22 here. I mean, you have things like hospitals, things like clinics, things like schools that municipalities, have to think twice about just going and performing debt management. You can't go and just cut off a hospital, as an example, or a clinic. And then you have a situation where, if you do go and cut them, and then you will be blamed as being heartless or not considering the greater good of, the residents that you are supposed to be serving. Yet at the same time, you're sitting with a situation where those that are responsible for the payments are not actually then forthcoming in terms of making those payments. So you then have a situation where you engage with the relevant departments, but the departments then take forever, to respond and actually to pay. You would remember in 2016, 2017, when I was actually in the city of Tshwane, the Department of Correctional Service owed, the municipality close on 300 million rand, just the Department of Correctional Service. Now, you can imagine if you were to then switch off correctional services or the department, what will then happen? There will be chaos. And therefore, you try and make sure that you balance in terms of, providing the service, but at the same time engaging the relevant departments for them to be able to then pay for the service that they are, or the services that they're receiving from the municipality. And that's where the challenge comes in.
How easy is it to pin this down to individuals so that they can be held accountable? I mean, typically you and I have spoken in broad strokes about municipalities being owed, departments not paying up. But this can all be drilled down to individuals who are doing or not doing what they're supposed to, given their roles.
Well, it's very simple, Ayanda. There are CFOs, there are people that are responsible for different accounts that are sitting in procurement offices. There are people who are managers, of particular services, and therefore people can actually then be found, and the questions can then be asked. First of all, is there adequate amount or money then been allocated towards paying for the services? If that amount has been allocated, the question is, why hasn't then the money been paid? And therefore, these are things that we are now going to be asking, and we are giving the Premier David Makura and the relevant MMCs a week to then respond to us and tell us what are they doing to make sure that municipalities, especially those that are in some serious financial distress, receive that money that they desperately need at this point in time. Further to which, we will write to the Minister of Finance. We'll also write to Treasury to then say, we are, seeing municipalities that have been failed by government in terms of the inability to ensure that, their debt are paid on time, so that municipalities are also able to then service the debts that they have and to pay people like Eskom and Rainwater.
Makuro's office, Makuro is obviously the Premier of Gauteng. They've established a debt management committee. Do you know what that committee does and whether or not it actually works, it helps?
Well, the funny thing is I had to call the Premier Makuro myself, to then say his own office was actually owing the city of Johannesburg millions. And he did action something like that. So, not to blame, not to put the blame squarely on him, but, his own people are failing him. And therefore, we need to then ensure that this, debt committee is not just a talk show, but he knows and he gets a report on a daily basis in terms of what are the outstanding debts, what are they doing to make sure that those debts are actually then being serviced, or actually then the municipalities are actually then engaged in terms of when they will be able to then receive outstanding payments. And I think if we're able to then get to that, it will not just be a talk show where, even in his own department or even in his own office, you find that, debts are not being paid. So we need to be able to then address that and address that as a matter of urgency and not just have another talk show that is, just pushing backward the municipalities from demanding what is due to them coming from the relevant departments. In fact, what I think should happen is that he needs to call a meeting with all his MECs and ask his MECs to find out which department, we have the numbers in fact here, find out how this department is planning on paying municipalities. I mean, Tshwane is owed 197 million. Johannesburg is owed 109 million. Ekurhuleni is owed 57 million. Now, these are metros that are able to somehow cushion and carry the load. And what happened to a municipality like Ekurhuleni, let's say, Merafo, which, their tax base is not that big to be able to then carry the cost. So what are they going to do to make sure that they're able to then speed up the payment of the outstanding amount and ensure that going forward, these kind of things don't continuously happen in municipalities, especially those that cannot carry the cost.
All right, Solly Msimanga, thanks very much indeed for your time. Solly is the DA's MPL in Gauteng, helping us better understand some of these issues. In fact, they were exposed to these figures after writing to Lebogang Maile, who's the Cooperative Governance MEC in Gauteng.